Good to go, honey. I know she loves me.
All right, Michaela. You killed.
Ooh, kill him. Oh.
In 2011, straight-A student Samuel Christensen took what was collectively known as the Torrance test. However, unlike all of the other tests he took, he had no idea that this was not a normal IQ test. It did not gauge how well one had comprehended material, but rather it gauged creativity. According to Newsweek.com, the Torrance test is a 90-minute series of discrete events administered by a psychologist. In order for However, as of 2010, a decline in creative scores has been spotted. In order for us to understand exactly why America has fallen into a creative decline, we must first analyze the origin of the creative crisis and the problems it causes. Then we must discuss what the possible culprits are and what solutions can be drawn. Ever since the year 1990, creative scores have been dropping. However, prior to that year, creative scores were going up just like normal IQ scores. With every generation, IQ scores go up by 10 points. This cultural phenomenon has been dubbed the Flynn effect. However, in the case of creativity, the inverse is also true. Creative scores are dropping. This decline was first spotted in May of 2010 by researcher Kyung-hee Kim, a researcher at the College of William and Mary. According to learningfirst.org, while she was analyzing over 300,000 scores, she's found a pattern that showed a decline in creative scores since 1990. Possibly the most shocking fact of all is that it's not adults who are most in danger of not being creative, but rather children anywhere from kindergarten to 6th grade. Now that we've talked about the problems and the origin of the creative crisis, we can get to the possible causes of it. Excuse me. Now that we've talked about the origin of the creative crisis, we can talk about the problems. The problems of the creativity crisis causes is truly staggering. According to Newsweek.com, the necessity of human ingenuity is undisputed. Also, according to the previously cited source, a recent IBM poll of 1,500 the CEOs identified creativity as the #1 leadership competency of the future. Everyone needs creative solutions to problems, ranging from political issues to saving an endangered species. In America, our standardized learning system holds no room for creative classes. We're so focused on nationalized testing, good grades, and memorization that we shunned aside exactly what made some of the world's greatest geniuses. A man by the name of Jonathan Plucker went to visit schools in China. While at a Chinese university, a Chinese teacher asked him to define the learning system in America. After doing so, according to Newsweek.com, Plucker says this: "After my answer was translated, they just started laughing out loud," he says. They said, "You're racing towards our old model, but we're racing towards your model as fast as we can." This is nothing more than more proof that America is adopting a system that entails teaching students only facts and not prompting them to search for creative solutions to problems. Now that we've talked about the origin and the problems the crisis causes, we can now discuss the possible culprits. According to researchers, the culprits of the creativity crisis is very hard to identify. However, some believe that electronics and social media are to blame. We are so obsessed and engrossed in social media and gaming, that even the idea of a game that prompts us to find a creative solution to certain scenarios is unheard of and deplored. However, some researchers believe that it's something completely different that is to blame for this. Some researchers believe that the art bias is to blame. In a nutshell, the art bias is the belief that the artists have a special claim to creativity. However, this belief cannot be proven by science and is unfounded by any other sort of evidence. In fact, according to Newsweek.com, researchers say that creativity should be taken out of the art room and put into the homeroom. However, on the flip side, American teachers warn that there is no room during a school week for art classes. Students are lucky to get to have art classes once or twice a week. Sadly, school funding is to blame for this. According to ASCD.org, half of the funding for public schools in America are provided through local taxes, generating large differences between impoverished and wealthy counties. Now that we've talked about the possible culprits of the creative crisis, we can now discuss what solutions can be drawn. Here in America, we say that we don't have time for a creativity class in school. But in fact, this is completely untrue. At the National Inventors Hall of Fame School in Akron, Ohio, teachers have done just that. According to Newsweek.com, the school's teachers came up with a project for the fifth graders: find a way to reduce the noise in the library. After this project is issued, students have 4 weeks to come up with propositions to present to teachers. The first step the students take is fact-finding. Fact-finding is a very important step into the creative process. After that, they work with scale models and calculate costs of their possible options. Some teams of students even work together if their ideas are similar enough. Putting creative problem solving into the curriculum is only one way to try and make ourselves more creative on a daily basis. An alternate option is creativity training. This is an alternate method for adults who are no longer in school to train themselves to think outside the box. According to Newsweek.com, creativity can be taught. In fact, neuroscience explains what goes on in the mind during creative thought process. According to Newsweek.com, when you're trying to solve a problem, you begin by concentrating on obvious facts to see if the answer lies there. This is the mostly left side of the brain stage of attack. If the answer doesn't come, the right and left hemispheres of the brain activate together. Neural networks on the right side of the brain scan remote memories that might be vaguely relevant. A wide range of distant info that is normally tuned out becomes available. The left hemisphere then looks for unseen patterns, alternate meanings, and high-level abstractions. Having glimpsed such a connection, it must lock onto it before it can escape. The attention system must radically reverse gears, going from very diffused attention to extremely focused attention. In a flash, the brain that pulls together disparate shreds of thought and binds them into a new, single idea that comes into consciousness. This is the aha moment of insight, often followed by a spark of pleasure when the brain realizes the novelty of what's come up with. However, now the idea has been formed, the brain must now decide whether or not the idea is worth pursuing. Also, according to Newsweek.com, creativity requires constant shifting, blender pulses of both divergent and convergent thinking to combine new ideas with old and forgotten ideas. So we talked about the origins of the creativity crisis, the problems it causes, the possible culprits, and what solutions can be drawn. In the end, Samuel Christensen did not make the grade he wanted, but that's hardly the point. The creativity crisis does not just pertain to us getting a good job or getting good grades. In the future, if America does not nourish the creativity that lives inside all of us, we won't to be known as the most powerful country in the world. We won't be known for the smartest people, and we certainly won't be known for the century's greatest innovations. The next time you're faced with a problem, try looking at it from a creative perspective. Try to find an idea that is not what normal people would think, no matter how ridiculous it may seem. Take the Torrance test, because you never know when our country is going to need your creativity the most.
Oh, she's done. Nice. Nice. That was a good one.